Hi, this is Michael Waits and welcome back to Thailand GameChanger. This show is focused on the driving forces behind the startup ecosystem in Thailand and Southeast Asia, produced by True Digital Park in conjunction with Michael Waits Media. We have the most informative and insightful conversations, I'm sure you can keep up with that, with startup founders, venture capitalists, and senior leaders from tech giants and the government, all recorded here at True Digital Park. Today, and I didn't even ask you, but I think I got this, I'm joined by Nattapat Thanesvorakul, the head of strategy and investment at RISE Corporate Innovation Powerhouse. Gun, thank you for coming on the show today. How are you doing?
Thank you, Michael. Actually, I'm doing well, and thanks again for having me today. I hope that my insight today will be helpful for your audience and you as well.
I'm sure it will be. So just to start, can our listeners get a little bit of your background for context? And in particular, like what did you study at school? And then why did you decide to go back and get an MBA?
Yeah, so actually I did my undergrad in Chulalongkorn University.
Great.
In Aerospace Engineering.
Wow, okay.
But somehow I never get to do anything about engineering before.
Really?
Yeah, so I spent my early career in banking,
okay.
Especially in investment banking at Standard Chartered Bank Thailand.
Got it.
So I help many corporations, medium size, large size, I help them do M&A and also IPO as well.
Oh, really?
Then after a couple of years, I'm fortunate enough to got accepted to MIT Sloan.
MIT?
Yeah.
Small school in Boston?
Very small school.
No one's ever heard of it?
No one heard of it.
Right. Good for you.
Yeah, and then it changed my life forever. You know, it's introduced me to see the power of technology.
Ah, right.
So that's why I came back here in Thailand and help build the ecosystem here. At RISE, right? So I work with more than 400 corporations in Thailand and help them innovate faster by working with startups.
That sounds really interesting. So as the head of strategy and investment at RISE, what exactly does that mean that you do? So you said you work with corporations to help them innovate faster, but what does that really mean?
So first of all, before talking about my role, let me introduce a little bit about RISE first and we can deep dive. So RISE, we consist of two big part, right?
Okay.
One part is more like corporate service, like consultant.
Yep.
Right. So we work with large corporations that you might heard of in Set 50, Set 100.
Got it.
Right. So we came to them, right? So we help them on both on both angle. First angle is actually on the technology side.
Okay.
Right, so we source the best technology from all around the world.
So what does that mean? Does that mean you go into these companies, do a little bit of sort of analysis for them and say, there's a gap here and a gap there, but we know how to fill those gaps by either startups that are in Thailand or from some of our 2,000 related startups over in the world? Exactly.
Let me give you some example, right? Please, so you can see better. So there is a bank in Thailand, right, that we work closely with. Right, so they are in the phase of doing do the AI transformation. They want to bring in AI to actually help them make better lending decisions. So we go all around the world, 10 cities from all around the world to source the best startup that can come in and actually help them make better lending decisions for the bank.
So let me ask you this though. Let's say you go to New York or you go to Silicon Valley or you go to Singapore. How do they know you? And like, where do you get the credibility to say, we have a bank as a client in Thailand and we want to sort of analyze your AI technology or your machine learning technology because then this may be a client of yours or a partner of yours. How does that work?
So basically, the credential is one thing, right? So we have a large base of customers in Southeast Asia, right? The most important thing for startup is the client. Right, most startups they build amazing product. They have amazing team, but in the end, they have to go to market. They have to find a customer.
Got it.
We go to them and we say that, hey, we have 400 customers in Southeast Asia, and then they interested right away. So they start to talk to us.
Do you build ventures as well? Because it sounds like when I was first looking at this, I thought, how do you compete with plug and play? Right, so plug and play has an interesting model, right, where they go out and they invest in startups, put them through sort of an accelerator program, and then try to go find clients for them. And their clients are working directly with them, so they almost have an obligation to choose one of them. But what you're doing seems like kind of the reverse.
That's right.
Okay, that's now I understand.
So actually, plug and play is our friend. So
I would think so.
It's not like we have anything against them. We have slight different business model. So plug and play focus mostly on leveraging their global network and do the matchmaking with the corporate in their network as well.
I understand.
But what we do is actually the reverse. We want to make tangible result. We want POCs, we want MVPs, we want to help drive more revenue and reduce the cost for the corporation with technologies.
So can you give a couple examples besides the bank maybe? And have you worked with startups in Thailand like maybe QQ or Recode? Both of whom have been on this show, by the way.
Yeah, oh wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So Kunjo and Kunakrit have been on this show. But can you talk about maybe how you've worked with them and how you've helped them succeed as well?
Let me give you an example, right? PTT Group, right? PTT Group is, of course, the largest company in Thailand, really focused on oil and gas, and been here for like 100 years, a lot of decades, right? So right now, they have a lot of refineries and plants and properties, right? And they're paying a few millions of baht per year, actually on electricity, utility, and stuff like that. We have a startup from Singapore, right? It's called BBP.
Okay.
And what they do is actually they use AI to actually optimize the energy usage and efficiency.
So they connect the refineries and maybe distill whatever the refineries to each other somehow.
Yep, that's right.
Using maybe IoT.
That's right.
And then they apply artificial intelligence to it to say you don't need this much electricity here, but you need more over here.
That's
and to
right.
optimize the usage of electricity that
way. Exactly. This is what they do as well. A few more examples, right? They have PTT EP. Right, they have a lot of like refinery, offshore.
Yes.
So they are looking for cheaper ways to monitor, to maintenance those offshore sites.
It's very expensive.
Very expensive because you need to get the people up there.
Right.
And it's very dangerous.
Right. So insurance is expensive, maintenance is expensive.
Yeah, very
corrosion because if it's offshore, it's in the water, right?
Yeah.
Corrosion's expensive. So it's hard.
Yeah, very slow as well. To see everything and the rate of and the success rate. I mean the efficiency of looking into the small flow is really very bad. Very bad.
Right.
So they are exploring to use drones. Right. So that's what we help them with. We connect them with autonomous drone from Korea.
From Korea.
Very interesting. Yeah.
There's a company in Thailand that actually does that too.
Yeah, they invest in some startup, but drone is a very vast area, very large area. So huge. Different drones have different strengths and weakness.
Absolutely.
So we kind of help them complete that.
Okay, let's back up a little bit. Now that we kind of understand what you do, what do you see besides the AI? What do you see as some of the most transformative technologies, right? And then besides the examples you've already given, how do corporates employ them sort of in a startup context? Yeah,
so from our view, right? So when we talk to corporate, we try to push them toward deep technologies.
Deep tech.
So we don't want them to like just walk to another fintech companies or another platform companies, right? We want them to actually think deeper, think farther, something that are hard to find, hard to imitate, right? Something that can create competitive advantage in long term.
But isn't this a great way for you to use your engineering background?
Of course, right? I mean, in the end, it's complementary, right?
Very complementary.
Yeah, financial background, technology background, strategy background combined, and this is the corporate innovation what we are doing.
I understand that.
So when we talk about deep technologies, we talk about different things, right? We talk about biotech. We talk about health tech. We talk about robotics. We talk about drones. We talk about AI, IoT, blockchain. Those stuff, right, it cannot be built in one day by your competitors. So that's what we are looking to help our corporates to co-create with a startup in our ecosystem.
And how do you find the environment inside of a corporate, right? Because if it's deep tech, it probably means that they don't have the ability to innovate in that space. For sure. Right? And do you find that they're creating their own departments to kind of deal with external innovation? Because if they don't, who do you actually deal with when you're inside those companies to convince them to do this?
Well, because when we work with corporates, they have different level of maturity, right?
For sure.
Some of them are in a medium size and maybe they don't have dedicated team. So we work directly with the CEO.
Right, that's what I thought. Okay.
And for the big corporations, they have a large internal innovation team.
Do they?
Where we can work with. We don't have to. Even the biggest innovation team in Thailand are not complete. There are always some areas that we can come in and also co-create something with.
I guess what I'm really curious about is when you go in there and talk to the innovation team, right, which is there bespokely just to deal with external innovation and try to bring it inside?
No.
Well, okay, maybe not, but how do they deal then with the rest of the corporation? You understand what I mean?
Understand.
Because they're supposed to be fast-moving and innovative. And how do you see them dealing with the rest of the corporation?
So this is something that I enjoy talking about very much because it is something both art and science. Absolutely. Because you cannot just have the best technology and everyone will use it. No.
Doesn't matter.
It's the art as well to convince people in the organization.
That's what I mean.
So when we start talking with the corporation, the most important people to talk to first before the innovation team is the management.
Senior management.
You have to transform them. You have to let them know how the implication is to the organization.
But what is the art and science of explaining to them? Because most of them are going to be much older than you are.
To see. To let them see.
So do you give them other examples?
No, we fly them to Silicon Valley, we fly them to China, fly them to Japan to see what's going on out there, right? What is the best example of your industry player?
And how can you tell if a CEO or a CTO or a CFO has actually had a transformational experience, right? Because they can give lip service to anything. I'm sure we like this. Yes, we like that. We want to be just like Toshiba or whatever it is. But at the end of the day, they have to come back and convince their shareholders and board of directors. How do you tell if somebody's actually transformed their thought process?
Well, I think the other than the fee, right? They have to do it as well. They have to get the buy-in from us as well. We don't tell them. Actually, as a company, right? RISE, we don't tell what PT should do, what SCB should do, no. But they should come back to us. So normally we are just the facilitator. Right. So we let them see and let them think, and then we help them shape up what should be the next 5-year strategy for them. If they come up by themselves, then they have their own buy-in and they want to do it.
Fair enough. That's obvious, right? But you also do these events, right? These corporate innovation summits in Thailand.
Absolutely.
What's the impact of those, and what's the desire? Because you talk a lot about outcomes, which I like actually. I don't like doing something for no reason. I always ask people, what's your expected outcome? So from that summit, what's your expected outcome?
So in CAS, right? Because we went to many conferences all around the world. Right. And what we get is what? Inspiration. And then when we come back home,
you need more than inspiration now. That's
right. That's right. When you come back home, then everything is the same, right? You go back to the same place, you work
sit at your desk and do the same.
So we want to give different things. We want to give the experience. We want the executive to actually come in and immerse themselves with the world of deep technologies and get to learn and get to try it.
So give me an example of an immersive experience that somebody's had at a physical event that you've done. And then I want to talk later about what COVID-19's impact has been on that, because I think it's two different things. Let's talk first about that immersive experience.
So let's say we have a speaker who talk about gamification.
Sure.
Right. So so to learn about gamification, right? In mostly people would just go to maybe have 2 or 3 hours of maybe video learning and stuff like that, which may not be very impactful. Right. So we fly the guy in and we have the workshop, very small workshop for maybe 20-30 people, and we let them do the whole experience it, gamification. How do they gonna bring gamification back to the organization, and how do they change the process? How to make the customer love and come back to use the product more, right? So this is something that we do.
Why did you choose gamification?
It's just an example, but we have more than 200 workshops in the.
I know, but gamification is actually really interesting because one of the reasons why for me is because I don't think most people understand or know that they're getting gamified. Do you understand what I mean? So showing this to a 55 or 50-year-old executive may surprise her because she may not know she's getting gamified. Then you see these little tactics we have. So it's interesting because it's very sort of under the radar type thing, but once you see it, you can't unsee it. So that's why I thought gamification was actually a really interesting example.
Exactly. So gamification is just one of the 200 workshops that we have in CAS this year.
This year?
This year, actually. We have been doing this for 2 years already. Right. Last year, fortunately, no COVID, so it's all physical.
How many people came, approximately?
So in the first year, we have about 4,000.
Okay.
So for this year, we have a little bit more. We have about 8,000.
And are you in competition with TechSauce, or is it just a
No.
completely
It's a
different thing?
completely different things. TechSauce are also our friend.
Yeah, my friend too.
They are also our friend. TechSauce focus more on the, I think more mass market, right?
Sure, they're not.
Yeah.
I mean, they do have some deep tech stuff, but most of it is just like, what does the ecosystem look like at
something
scale,
like that.
At scale, right?
Yeah, but for us, we focus on the executive level only.
Right.
Our ticket is a little bit pricey compared to them.
Yeah.
But we also focus more on the workshop, on a hands-on experience.
I understand.
Not so much on the keynote and stuff like that.
So this is a really interesting point, and I've been trying to make this point to people recently. You said last year, first year for sure, 4,000 people come to a physical event.
Yeah.
How many of them come from overseas, or just from outside of Thailand, actually?
If I remember correctly, right, about 20 countries from all around the world.
But what percentage of the people do you think were from outside of Thailand?
Mostly from outside. I would say more than 50%.
Okay, so that's really interesting. 4,000 people come, 2,000 from outside, right? This year, online, you would think fewer people are going to come because nobody's interested anymore, and online events are a dime a dozen now. And I got to take care of my kid and do homeschooling and all this other stuff. But 8,000 people participated.
Yeah.
So I think actually that online is going to get more participation because it's easier to attend.
Yeah.
That makes sense? I don't have to fly from Silicon Valley to Thailand.
Absolutely. So a lot more people attend. But of course, when you do online, right, the downside is that the span of focus of people.
Oh, I understand that.
Yeah, people just, some people, I mean, most the people who are here to learn, they are here.
Right.
But the people who are like, maybe.
So look, I logged into an event last week.
Yeah.
Because I had to be there.
Yeah.
And then I got up and I walked away.
Yeah.
Because no one could see me. Now I did participate in the places where I needed to participate.
Yeah.
But I didn't have to be there the whole time.
That's right.
But in a way, maybe what that means is that I can be more engaged for the things that I care about.
That's right.
I don't know. I'm not so against these online events. I'm curious what you think and what the feedback was that you guys got as a team.
I mean, of course, I mean, both offline and online have strengths and weakness, right? So you actually have to leverage both.
Right.
So for online, from the feedback that we got, very positive, right? Because people can streamline the process better.
Sure.
They can choose the workshop better. Don't have to like walk to this guy and that guy and change the workshop room and stuff like that, right?
Right.
So you can just sit in one place and just click switch the room. Yeah. And it's so easy, and there is some recording. People can come back and watch it, and you can also chat. You can also reach out to many people without having to actually see their face.
Physically see them, right?
Yeah. So experience are different. It's not anything is better, but it's different. But we have to go with the situation.
So the first vaccination for COVID-19 took place in the UK yesterday, or the day before. I can't remember what day it was, right? And then they actually vaccinated a guy named William Shakespeare, but that's a different story. They did actually. That was the guy's actual name. I know you know that.
Yeah.
But so the vaccinations are coming. People may feel safe into 2021 and 2022. But do you go back to doing these face-to-face events? Do you do hybrid events? What do you think people want? And what do you think you're going to do?
I think absolutely people want to go back and meet face-to-face and have deeper engagement in the conference for sure.
Right.
But in the end, safety is the key.
It's the primary concern for sure.
So right now we this year, if nothing changes, we will do hybrid event.
Okay, in hybrid events, right?
Yeah.
And where do you do them offline here?
So normally we hold it in some big conference hall, right? Like Central.
Okay.
Central World on the top level, right? So very big room, and we can separate into smaller workshops, and people kind of enjoyed it.
Right. So can we go back to this idea of taking corporates here to visit other companies in the United States or in Europe or whatever? Do you pay for that? Do they pay for that? Like, what is the process for that? And so, what happens when are you going to other startups? What is the process when you get there? Because do those startups also have like a team of people that are ready to deal with them? Just walk me through how that works. So normally when we want to transform the organization, like I mentioned, right? So we transform from the top of the corporate first, which is the management. So normally they need the board trip anyway, because the large companies in the stock exchange in Thailand, normally they go to travel together, but normally for fun. Right, so we replace that board trip, that management trip
with our innovation trip.
So they're going anyway.
They're going anyway.
Got it. Okay, go ahead.
So and then we, according to our initial discussion, we have some rough idea what they are looking for.
Got it.
Right. So for example, if we talk to some banks and they want to see big fintech industry, we took them to something like UK, right, to see the fintech landscape, right? If they're looking for something more deep technologies, maybe we take them to Israel, you know. So this is some kind of options that we have for them, and then we choose, and then we kind of choose. We talk to the startups that could fit, because actually in the end, right, one of our asset is actually the network that we have.
Absolutely.
We have more than 10,000 startups in our database that we usually get in touch with. We also partner, sign MOU with more than 50 venture capitals, accelerator, incubators from all around the world. Talking about YC Combinator, right? We are the only entity in Thailand that signed MOU.
An MOU with YC.
YC.
So do you also run your own accelerator programs? And like, what is the tenor of those programs? And then I want to talk about, after that, I want to talk about, do you invest your own money as well?
So actually, we don't do incubator. What we do is actually corporate accelerator.
So you do the reverse. Okay.
Do the reverse. So we don't invest in the early stage startup.
You don't?
We don't invest in the early stage startup in the accelerator. We have a fund for that, but for the accelerator, it's a different thing. We don't invest in our startup. We choose world best in class mature startup from all around the world.
So you invest globally?
I mean, no. We invest globally for the fund. But for the accelerator, we choose startup based on the problem statement of the corporate.
I understand.
And then of those mature startups from all around the world, we bring them here to Thailand to work with our corporations. But if we want to invest in any of them, we have a fund for that. But for the accelerator program, we don't invest.
Can you talk about what your AUM is?
For our AUM is about $10 million US.
Okay.
For the first fund.
And that's all early stage stuff, right?
Yep. So to clarify, right? So the fund that we have is called CX Ventures.
Right.
Only invest in deep technologies from all around the world. We co-invest with Sequoia, YC and people like that, right? And that is the fund. For the accelerator, we actually is more mature stage.
So when you look at an investment, what do you think are the characteristics that you look for that kind of give you a hint to them being a successful team and a successful, I don't want to say product, right? Because I don't invest in products, I invest in teams.
Absolutely.
And in businesses. But what are some of the characteristics that you look for as a fund for what's going to make a team successful?
You know, for our fund, the unique thing, of course, actually the same thing as you. The first thing is the team. Right? We are looking for serial entrepreneurs, proven entrepreneurs who actually have deep experience in technologies, in the unique technologies, AI, biotech, blockchain.
So you want someone that's done something for.
That's right.
Deep domain experience.
That's right. This is the first thing, right? And the second point for us, still the product, right? We are looking for unique deep technologies product that actually can do better than the existing technologies 10 times.
Right.
10 times.
Have you seen anything, and I don't want to know the company name unless you want to say it, but have you seen anything recently that just super excited you anywhere in the world?
So we just recently invest in a new startup. They offer alternative coffee products. So right now, when you take coffee, right, what do you have? You normally when you take caffeine, you will have some problem with the dizziness, anxieties, and a lot of negative impact on your body.
Because of caffeine.
That's right. But right now they find alternative solution for that caffeine. So we are investing in that startup, and it's very interesting. Very interesting. I think it could change the entire caffeine landscape.
Can you say where it's based?
Sorry?
Where is it based?
It's based in Silicon Valley, of course.
Nice. Have you heard of Cafe X? This is an old...
Cafe X?
Cafe X was the one that was building the robotic arm to make the coffee. Invested
actually, we found something similar, but I don't heard the names specifically.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you had an experience with I want to go back to the corporates for a second. Have you had an experience with a corporate that was really skeptical, where you went in to pitch to them and you said, innovation is going to help you succeed and sustain your business, and if you don't, you could die and some other company's going to come take your place, and they said, we don't really care because we have a monopoly, whatever that thing is. Have you had that experience and then have them completely change their mind? Tell me.
Well,
you know what I mean though, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so like I mentioned, right, the corporations, they have made different level of maturity, right? The corporate type of corporate that you mentioned is actually just the first of them, just the first stage, right? They don't have the mindset change yet. So the first thing that we normally do, actually not too different from what I already told you, which is to transform the management first, and secondly, we help them transform the mindset of the employee in the organization as well.
Which is almost harder than changing the mindset of the management, because there are maybe 6 people in the C-suite.
Absolutely.
It could be 25,000 people in the company who say, I don't want to change the way I do things. And then they get scared.
Absolutely. Right? Absolutely. So the management to change, because they have to be very smart to get up there, right?
Sure.
But for the people in the organization, the people who gonna execute the plan
day to day,
right? And they have the day-to-day job to do it.
Right.
It's not easy for them at all.
No, not really.
So normally we can help them do the internal campaign as well. Activities, campaign, hackathon, competition, a lot of things internally, and we help them transform the mindset of people in the organization.
And do you have like one in your mind where you thought this one's going to be really hard and they turned?
Well, absolutely. So that is a company that actually fit actually the mold that you mentioned. So they kind of be the monopoly for like 50 years.
Right.
Doing the same thing for 50 years, never
very
changed.
Well probably. Yeah?
Very well known and no competitor at all. Because it's government owned, partially.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's not tell everybody what the name of it is. Okay.
No.
I don't want anyone to get in trouble.
No. And then in the first year, right? So a lot of people they face this problem, right? Because a lot of people who they sponsor a lot of people to study abroad and come back.
Right.
And then right after they come back and after the period that they have to repay the loan.
Sure.
Right. They leave the company. Every one of them.
So 3 years of service.
Yeah, something like that.
Like, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah. So because they knew that they cannot make difference.
Right.
They cannot change anything. Any ideas that they have doesn't make any impact to the company. Right. So we create this program. Right, and they send and we talk to the company about this problem, and they think, oh yeah, we have this problem. Why don't we try to change anything, right? So they send 50 talents, top notch, all around the company to our program.
Wow!
And we train them, we equip them with the skill set, and we let them work on a prototype, and we let them pitch the project each to the executive and in the board.
So you can actually simulate kind of a startup environment for them, or at least an innovation environment.
That's right.
And then they feel like, as opposed to feeling like, I can't make a difference over there, they feel like, I'm going to go back there and make a difference.
That's right.
Is that right?
That's right. And then they get to pitch the ideas to the board, right? And the board make the decision.
Right.
And the board actually pick a couple of ideas from this program, and they actually fund it. And let people quit the company to actually do this startup.
Go back and do that, right?
Yeah.
And then become a client of them.
Yeah.
Why
and
not, right?
But if the employee fail, if the startup people fail, they can come back to the company.
Sure.
So this is totally changed the way people think about the new S-curve, about the new business, new ideas and products.
So actually, I participated in a program like this for a big bank. It's partially owned by the government.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
you understand.
But
right?
I understand that. They had 12 teams, so each team has 8 or 9 people on it. So yeah, almost 100 people.
Something like that. We kind of have the same number of people, about 30 to 50 people per program.
Right.
And normally we choose about maybe we let them have like 3 to 5 people per team.
Right.
And then and normally by the end of the program, not only they can transform the mindset, but they also get a tangible product to actually work on.
But they actually come up with something.
That's right. And then people after this stage, right? Normally, people after they have the idea and they have the funding from the corporations, the next thing they have to do is to go to market.
Right.
This is what we help on as well. Right. We offer something called venture building programs.
Right.
So we help specifically on each project to help them acquire the first few customers and help them find a product market fit.
Right. So one of the things that I like to say is you can't learn how to drive a car by just reading the manual.
Absolutely.
You got to get behind the wheel, get scared.
Absolutely.
Run a red light.
Absolutely. This is something that actually a lot of people have potential to do it, but when you work in corporations for like 5 years, 10 years, you start to like less focus on those new things.
Sure.
You just focus on whatever on your plate day to day.
I know. I mean, I did this for 20 years, so I completely understand.
Yep.
I want to talk a little bit about the government.
Yeah.
How do you guys work with DIPA, right? The BOI, the NIA, to try to get them involved? If you look around the world, not so much in the West, but definitely in the East, there are plenty of incentives from the Singapore government, from the Malaysian government, the Indonesian government, and the Thai government as well, dedicating a lot of resources and money to building. But how does an entity like RISE work with the,
Yeah, actually, we work with a lot of corporations, government from all around the world. Right. We signed MOU with about 12 of them. Got it. So we got financial support from 4 governments in Southeast Asia: Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand, and also Indonesia as well. Great. So we got very strong support from them. That's right. So the way government, you have to think about what they want as well, right? So when we talk to the corporations, they want new products, they want new service, right?
They want more revenue, they want more
profit, something like that, right?
Prices,
tangible
whatever.
Value, right?
Right.
But we talk to the government, it's different things.
Very different.
They want to drive the fundamental of their business. They want to drive economics in the longer run, right?
I was going to say, the government must have a much longer term view.
That's right.
So when they're developing like the EEC,
absolutely,
they can take a 25-year view.
Yeah.
But PTT can't take a 25-year view all the time.
Absolutely.
Right. In some cases, it's maybe a 3-year view. So different outcomes or expected outcomes. Yeah.
Absolutely. So when we work with Thai government, is mostly we help them build the early stage ecosystem. Right. We work with the university, we work with DIPA, and we help them actually co-create the ecosystem for the early stage, for the university people, right? For the lecturers, for the researchers to actually come up with new ideas, spin off their whatever research they have into the real tangible business, right? Right. This is what we want from them. When we work with the international government, is a little bit opposite, right? Because they want their startups to go outside the country, right? Because talk about Singapore have very small consumer market.
6 million people at the most, right? At the most.
Yeah, and even of course, they have a lot of regional headquarters out there.
Doesn't matter.
But it doesn't matter at all. The real consumer market is elsewhere, right? Especially in Thailand, Indonesia, which we were in. Right. So right now, what we do is actually we help the startup from Singapore to come out, and we introduce the 400 customers that we have to them.
So let's just talk about the Thailand ecosystem in particular.
Yeah.
In the last 5 years, or even today, like how do you see the startup ecosystem today in Thailand, and how do you think it's changed like in the past 3 to 5 years?
Thailand ecosystem fast growing. It's very fast growing, and also is start to getting more and more complete over time. Right. But I would say that right now the speed that we have, the size that we have, still not there yet compared to our friends in the
some other countries,
in the region, right? Talk about Indonesia, talk about Singapore, right? In every 100 people in Singapore, there is one startup. In Thailand, in every 70,000 people, we have one startup.
There's a lot of work.
So the size is not there yet at all, right? So some other rooms to improve for me that I look so far, there's still lack of diversity, as well as the advancement of the technology as well.
So what do you think is going to change the game in Thailand to help with that diversity, to increase the number of startups per number of people? What do you think really has to happen to change the game?
So when we look into ecosystem, right, there are a few components in it, right? So first of all, one of the key challenges that we found when we talked a lot of Thai startup here is the talent, right?
Which kind of talent? Is it just engineering talent? Is it
engineering talent, the tech talent part, right? The business people, we have strong business mindset. Very strong, very flexible, very strong, right? I have experienced a lot of that. But in terms of technology side, right, we don't have sufficient engineer in Thailand. one thing, right, is the one part, right, is actually the education that we have. The people who come out of our system, education system, is not actually fit well with what we want in the market.
So how do you change that?
I think the university and the commercial side actually have to sing together to co-create that curriculum, right? Because right now, not only because the people who we want in the market is not just the expert on one thing.
No, for sure not.
We want people who are good at multiple things.
Absolutely.
Cross the disciplinary, right?
Absolutely.
People who are good at both business, technology, and other stuff as well to co-create something new.
Right.
Right. That's the recipe for entrepreneurship.
Okay.
And the other part is actually the expat. I have an expat in my company. It took like 2 months to actually get everything done for her.
Right, but that's a problem, right?
It's a problem,
that's
right?
A problem.
It's a pain.
It shouldn't be that hard.
Yeah, if we in the short term, we should focus on bringing more skillful expat first, you know? Because I travel to India, to China, they have a lot of incredible talent. And here in Thailand, we have incredible quality of life as well.
Absolutely.
Those people want to come here, but they cannot.
They do.
But they cannot, right? So this is something short-term solution first, and then over time we can change the education over time to actually align with what we want in the market. The second part of the ecosystem that I want to talk about is actually the funding part, right? Because when you look into the example of UK, when you set up fund in UK and you invest in a startup in England, let's say, right? The government co-invest with you.
Right. Same thing in Singapore.
Same thing.
For the NRF or the RIDA or whatever.
Amazing, right? That's amazing.
Well, it puts more leverage into the system, right?
That's right. That's right. This is amazing part.
Yeah.
Right. And also we have the amount of funding, right? You can mention. I can give like names right now, right? It's very hard. I can count the names in Thailand who are the venture capital in Thailand, who are not corporate venture capitals, right? This is the part. This is the first part.
But also, so from my perspective, and I love this topic, there's a funnel, right?
Yeah.
And at the top of the funnel is angel investing and sort of seed stage investors, and then sort of venture investors, and then Series A investors, Series B, Series C, Series D, and somewhere in there you have CVC as well. But the angel investment environment in Thailand is one of the things that I need, that I think actually needs to get fixed. Yeah. Not really fixed, but just encouraged.
That's right.
Because there's a perception, and you tell me where I'm wrong here, there's a perception outside of Thailand that it's not a wealthy country, and yet it's a very wealthy country.
That's right.
With plenty of capital available, but not a lot of risk capital, because I don't think there's an understanding, and maybe you should run a program, all joking aside, on angel investing. To teach people that when you give somebody seed money or angel money, you don't take 75% of the company, right? Yeah,
actually, we have one in place. But before we go to that, let me elaborate more as well.
Please.
I think the funding, I like the idea of funnel that you mentioned, right? So the angel, the seed, the Series A investor, I think we have plenty in Thailand. When we talk about the specific names of VC, right? But when we talk about Series B and up,
none.
We have what we call Series B gap here in Thailand.
Well, anything above Series A, really.
Yeah.
Because who's doing Series C and D investing? Nobody. That I know of.
Nobody. Only big corporations can do that, and it's not good for the startup in long run.
No way. Because they'll reach this stage, and then they just need growth capital. If they go outside the country, people will just be like, Makachai, like no way. And inside the country, there's no money for that, right?
That's right. So when people hit the Series B, either they go to big corporation or they have to go outside of country.
Right.
Which is not great for the country at all.
I agree.
So I think when we look back, right, we want to build the Series B ecosystem and up. We have to give some incentive for those funds to actually set up here. Right? Maybe some tax incentive.
Absolutely. Right? Or some maybe government.
Yeah, or maybe the government, right, to subsidy the larger investment in tech startup who based in Thailand.
I like to call it a little bit of de-risking.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Just a little bit of de-risking to encourage it. Because once you see a few successful examples, then you no longer need to de-risk. Then you need to keep people out because everybody's going to want to get in.
Absolutely.
Right?
Okay. Absolutely. A few other part of the ecosystem that I want to touch on as well.
Please.
Is the third part is actually the early stage incubation program.
Right.
So right now, most of the incubation program are run by the large corporations.
Right, I know.
Which are great, but it's very specific and focused on the problem statement of that corporation. So the government actually should come in and actually work with a more ecosystem in the university level and help them and groom them, equip them with the right skill set and ecosystem, so that they can build smaller companies more and faster.
Right. Yeah.
Help them direct on that. This is the part as well.
Okay.
When I was at MIT, one of the professor, right, he told me, he came to Thailand once and he told me, Gan, you know what is lacking the most in Thai ecosystem? It's not actually the 3 points that I mentioned. It's actually the global mindset.
Right. Fair.
Because when we talk about Singapore, we talk about Israel. They have smaller country than us, but they have a lot more unicorns, right? Because they look outside, right? Thailand is just 70 million people, right? And our GDP is not even the largest in Southeast Asia.
Right.
We have to look outside, how to go to Indonesia, right? How to go to the China, how to go to USA, how to go to Europe.
Do you think language gets in the way?
One part of it.
Yeah.
One part of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's interesting, right? Because Israel is also about 6 million people.
That's right.
But we can talk about why Israel has such a strong sort of technology system funded by the US government through the military into deep tech.
That's right.
That's just a fact, right? Singapore is different. Again, used to be like a small fishing village 50 years ago, 60 years ago. Very specific, targeted parts of the economy. Very small. So easy to control what happens there. Thailand is right in the middle, right? It's almost like the Goldilocks economy. It's not too hot, not too cold. 70 million people, not like Indonesia, which is 270. Not small like Malaysia, which is 25.
Yeah.
It's right in the middle, but it's also difficult to organize 70 million people. Yeah. It's just hard. Yeah.
Understand. But it's totally fine. I think, but the thing is, what government or what the corporation should do is actually to help guide and allocate the resource to the area where we should go next, right? Because if we build another Grab or Lazada right now, it's too late already.
Too late.
We have to look into the new thing, which from our view is deep technologies.
Right.
Something new, something work for the corporations, because we have so strong corporate market here.
Right.
Right. So we from if you want to survive and do well in Thailand, you have to work with the corporation. That's why we always advocating the startup nowadays to go deeper and work with the corporate.
Right. Okay. Look, I think this is a great way to end.
Yeah.
This has been a fabulous conversation. I want to thank you, Gan Thanesvorakul, the head of strategy investment at RISE Corporate Innovation Powerhouse, for coming in and doing this today. This was awesome.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
It's my pleasure to be here as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.